Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of Rocket Live. I want to welcome everybody right now who's watching us live on the feed, wherever you're watching us. Let us know if you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, or wherever all those great places are that you could be watching us live right now. Before we dive into my interview today with my awesome guest, who I'm so excited to have on because we've been talking about getting her on for quite some time. Want to take care of some stuff at the top of the show. Once again, I always want to thank my sponsor, my awesome sponsor. That would be Kerry Zarb, podcast marketing coach, Kerry Zarb from kerryzarb.com, and the official 7 days of simple podcast marketing. So if you're a podcaster and whether you've been in it for a little bit or you're just starting out and you're really struggling with the marketing and getting everything out there and getting the word out about your podcast, well, Kerry has designed an awesome 7 days of simple podcast marketing that you can get right now by heading over to kerryzarb.com/resources. That's kerryzarb.com/resources. You can get access to that right now by going over to that link or clicking the link in the show notes. Or if you're watching this live, it's all posted up in the comments and all that great stuff. So head over to kerryzarb.com/resources right now and get your official 7 days of simple podcast marketing right away. So with that being said, I want to welcome everybody right now. Once again, if you're watching live, feel free to drop comments as we go or ask questions as we go. Always happy to discuss them and bring them up. If you're checking us out for the very first time, welcome to Rocket Live. This is a podcast where I interview creators, entrepreneurs, business owners, professionals, and we talk to them and we hear their stories that they're sharing about who they are, what they do, how they got there, why they love what they do, and how they're helping others. So today, my very special guest is Doina Bejenaru. I practice this so much, Doina, too. Of course, I screwed it up
Don't
live.
worry.
Live, but forget it. You say it because I said it 1,000 times before we got on the air, and of course, I screwed it up the minute I got on live.
Don't worry, Chris. It's Doina Bejenaru.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. But I'm so happy that you are here and on the show because we've talked about having you on for so long, and I it's like I feel like we scheduled this we literally did schedule it months ago, and now here it
Yeah.
is. We're finally here. So welcome to the show, and we're already getting some great comments here. Great to see you too, Chris. Thanks for checking in. Really appreciate you. So Doina, welcome. So why don't you fill everybody in about because you and I met on the one and the only Clubhouse, where I feel like the year of 2021 is where I've made a whole host of new friends via Clubhouse, and that's where you and I met. But I'd love for you to tell the audience who are you? Tell them a little bit about yourself and what you're up to.
Sure. It was so amazing connecting with you, Chris. I know it seems like it was forever when we scheduled this, but I'm happy it happened. I'm Doina. I am the host of Jumping Podcast, where I talk about everything freelancing. All the journey is on my books based on what I've experienced so far. I started to work as a freelancer in 2014, so I felt I'm ready to share my resources with the people. As a side hustle, this is what I do. And I'm in recruitment. I do HR consultancy and recruitment, which are two different things for different companies, because this is how freelancers are, work on more than two projects at the same time.
Right.
So yeah, and this year I started to do Pinterest as well, helping podcasters to rank on Pinterest and grow their show. Mainly, this is what I do in a nutshell at the moment.
Yeah, and I love that because you were probably I've met a lot of quote unquote, because how we have this titled is freelance recruiting specialist. So I've met a lot of different recruiters over my time, but I'd never really met anybody who specialized in freelance and puts out as many resources as you do. And I think that is like one of the coolest things because you've really created this whole universe of built around, you've got the podcast, you've got all these resources, you've got your consulting and your other services that you do. On top of that too, you're running these Pinterest resource rooms, which is something I really want to dive into about as well, because you're once again, you're also the only person I've ever met who's really specialized in Pinterest and actually opened my eyes up to how it can be used, and not just because I've been basically using it for years as a collection for like recipes and
Welcome to the team.
I mean, and collecting pictures and stuff like that. But like, you just totally opened my eyes to like how it can actually be used to like help grow your business. So these are all the things I want to spend some time talking with you about today. So let's talk about the freelancing end first. And you said it at the start, like you are a freelancer, you've been a freelancer. So what you're putting out there as resources is basically all the things that you've learned from doing and all the things you've seen. So um let's talk, but let's unpack that a little bit. So the freelancing side of what you're doing, and how you're working with freelancers, um how did that really get started? Like, when did you make the choice from like, hey, I am a freelancer, to like, now I want to start helping and consulting and working with freelancers to share with what I know?
Sure. Thanks for asking, because I think not a lot of people ask me, how did you start? Is like, how are you making money? But you need
Yeah,
to know how people start, because everything can be stealing. Like, you can get all
absolutely.
the tips and tricks. So it was 2014. I was in my last year of university, and I was working a full-time job as a travel consultant for a British company that was based in Romania. And I thought, hey, everybody in the office was doing a side job. I thought, like, why shouldn't I do it? So I signed up on Upwork.com, and I tried a ton of jobs before I figure out what I love doing and what's fit for my skills. I
Mhm.
did transcriptions, I did translations, I did customer service for phone, chat, email. So I tried everything before I realized what I love. And I was doing it part time. I was going back from my full time from 6 to 10 p.m. I was doing this. And when you start freelancing, it's very important to find a company who is ready to trust you, even if you do not have all the skills. This is what happened to me. An American company said, hey, we're going to get you on a part time job for our customer service department. It was for phones, and I hate being on calls. So, okay, let's
Yeah,
do it. I think before you figure out what you like, you first need to do what you don't like.
yeah, you got to figure it out somehow, right? You got to learn
Yeah.
by doing, and yeah, you got to do it and go, this isn't for me, and then you take it off the list.
Yeah, and can you imagine? I started with $6 an hour. I was like, okay, I'm gonna take it. Let's do this. And I did that part time, and more, I started to negotiate my salary. I realized, okay, I really like this part. I
Mhm.
got more job responsibility. And can you imagine, since 2014 until today, I'm still with the same company.
Oh wow.
And I'm now the customer success manager for their department. And then bit by bit, I started to take more projects, what I love, what I don't love. I quit my full time job and said, hey, I'm going to move to London, because staying in the house and being a freelancer is not so fancy as everyone thinks.
Yeah, it's
So,
not so glamorous.
yeah, because when someone says, hey, I'm a freelancer, we are not with a cocktail in our hand on a beach in Thailand or somewhere.
That's a great analogy, because I think that's what everybody thinks is like, oh, I'm a freelancer means I'm working from the beach. I just, and yeah, while you can work wherever you want, it's really not that glamorous. And most of the times you never leave the house is really what happens.
Exactly. This is what happened to me. I did that for 3 years. I would barely get out from my house, and I would barely make connections until my mom told me, hey, you're a bit antisocial, because I couldn't stand the family around and being so noisy, because I was home all day in a perfect silence.
Right.
And then I said, okay, I'm going to go and take a full time job. So I packed one bag and I just moved to London. And within 2 weeks, I said, okay, I'm gonna do recruitment, though I have no experience whatsoever. I found another company who was able to take me on board. They trained me from scratch. So I went happily to the office every single morning from 8 to 5. And this lasted only 6 months. Because I said, guys, this is not working out for me. Office life is not for me. And they were like, you're a freelancer. You can do this from home. So this is what happened. I'm still with the same company that is based in London since 2017. Nowadays, I'm still with them personally in London, and we are recruiting for public council's job, like the local government jobs.
Oh wow. That is
And
awesome.
yeah, this is what got me to recruitment. And I'm taking projects, side projects along with this. Right now, I'm an HR consultant for a company based in California. It's an IT company, and this is what I'm doing.
Now I love that. And so I want to just go back a little bit, because You just told like this amazing story, by the way, of like how you started and where you are, which is once again, this is why I do this show because hearing stories and learning from others is like the key thing in us sharing our experiences. But I just want to focus in on the amount of guts and courage it took to do what you did. You're like, I literally packed a bag, one bag, and I moved to London and just like, well, I'm gonna figure it out type of thing. And I mean, really, it's what you did. And man, I gotta really commend you on that act of courage because that is a huge leap of faith. I mean, we talk about things sometimes of like, taking risks as entrepreneurs and business owners or creators or whatever it is that you're doing. You take risks to do things to get to that next step. But that's a huge risk. It's like not only like, you're leaving the country, you're packing a bag, and you're just going somewhere new. I give you a ton of credit for that because
Oh, thanks, Chris.
as you're telling that story, I'm thinking, man, could I do that? Like, could I possibly do that? Like, I've taken a lot of risks in my life, but like, I don't know if I could just pack my bag, go to someplace new. I mean, I think I could, especially, I guess maybe not me now, maybe a younger version of me could.
That's why it's very important to do it as early as possible.
Yeah.
This was not my first time to take my bag on leave because when I was 17, I got a scholarship, a full scholarship to study in the US for 1 year.
Oh wow.
And I was 17 and I needed my mom's approval. And my mom said, yeah, of course you go. Why not? And years later, I'm thinking as a parent, you just let your kid go from Europe across the ocean. She's not even 18, and you just trust her to let her go. So that was my first time when I packed my bags. I came to the US. I studied here for 1 year. I got a full scholarship. I was in high school. And then I went back to my home country, Moldova. And then again, I packed my bags and moved to Romania. This is where I studied, and then moved to London. And now I'm back to the US. So packing your bag and goes, it's a
Yeah.
big decision, but teaches you so much.
Yeah, I can really imagine. And so and it's interesting to know that's something so you already had an experience where you went to a country you've never been to for a full year. So you sort of had that so it's like, hey, I'm gonna spend a year in a country, packing my bag and go over to London to go get a job. This is like nothing. I, I
Exactly.
I can do this. I can do this. So I love that. I think it's cool, but there's a lot to be learned though from that. And I think, like you said, um, do these things young, while you can. And I also love to, Doina, that, and this is something I always talk about, is like, I love how you didn't ask for permission to do these things. Like, you just like, I'm going to go do this. Like, I want to do this. I want to have this experience. And you obviously had a support system. It sounds like that was like supported your decisions to go do these things and take these chances. But I love that you just followed your instinct and trusted in yourself enough where, you know what, I'm going to try it. And I also love that you've said too, I also want to highlight is that you do have to try things to find out what you don't like. And that's so important because you could sit and play the what if game forever. But you got to go do it. You got to actually take the opportunity and go try that thing to say, hey, I didn't like that, or it didn't work, or, oh, this is great. This is for me. This is what I want to do.
Do you know what Jim Rohn said? Life is iffy. And I didn't want to live with the idea, if I have done this, maybe it would have worked better. I just trusted my gut and just went and do it. Same with freelancing. You have to start where you are with what you have. Do not wait to say, hey, I'm going to do it if I have this set skills. Oh, I'll do it when I have this certification. Just start with what you have, because later on you'll find yourself that you did not start and you'll say, hey, life is iffy.
Yeah, I well said. I love that. I love that. Really, that I like what you just said there. That was very cool. I want to talk a little bit about now. I loved hearing your background, so I want to bring it into like now talking about the actual like working with freelancers and what you've been helping them with. Because once again, I go on your website, and for anybody right now that you're watching, if you're watching, go to jumpinpodcast.com. If you're listening, use the links in the show notes to go over to Doina's website, because I'll tell you, it is a wonderful place for resources. So if you are out there and you're freelancing and you're listening to this, and or maybe you are, you got your other gig but you're looking for some side stuff, this is a really great way to subsidize income, create more revenue for yourself. And Doina has really spent a lot of time and effort creating these amazing resources on our website. And for those watching the video, I'm just gonna share a little bit of what she's got going on the website. So she's got an entire website, but like I said, on the resources side, she has a lot of really wonderful downloads. And we're going to get into the Pinterest side of things because that's a big one that you've been working on a lot. But I love how you've done, and I really want to talk about this because I think this is key, because you do a lot about pricing and how to price yourself, how to find your own self-worth, how to figure out what your hourly pricing pay is, what your project-based pay is, how to do invoicing, how you even talk about, you even have a great resource here on best websites and how to have a great website. So talk about that, because obviously these are from your experiences, right? I mean, this is where this is all coming from. But I think that one of the number one things, and correct me if I'm wrong, so is, and this is what I deal with in coaching, is people wanting to like doubting how much they're charging, or they feel like they should be charging more, but they don't know where, or they actually feel like they're charging enough, but they're really not. Like they don't identify with their actual self-worth of what they should be billing and charging for their time and their experience.
Based on my experience as a freelancer and then working with other freelancers, is that setting your price, first of all, starts from an imposter syndrome. A lot of people say, I don't know what's the value of what I'm offering, so I'm going to just set a price, or I can even do it for free, as other people say. So I have a lot of, as you said, resources, PDFs. I have a lot of episodes talking about how to price a service correctly. This is very important because if you're not doing when you are starting, later on, you'll even feel shy to even raise your price or even to let your client, hey, this is the new price. I know freelancers who are stuck for years on the same hourly rate, and this is not fair towards you. And another reason why I insist on knowing your price and your value is a lot of freelancers think I'm working from home, I'm using the computer I already have, I'm already paying for that internet connection, and they do not calculate their costs as well. Thinking I already have this, but
Yep.
it's you paying for it anyway. So you have to calculate it as your cost. When you know your total cost, when you know your value, when you know how many hours you are spending on a project, it's way easier to know, do you decide to get hourly paid? Do you want performance-based pay? There are people who are paid per commission, people in sales, for example. Or do you want to be like one-time payment? This is very important because it will set the path for you later on to know, hey, that's my value, and this is what I'm going to charge in 6 months, in 1 year, as a raised price.
Yeah, and I mean, I couldn't agree with everything you're saying more, because it is one of the biggest things. And listen, I mean, we were all there, at one point. I remember when I started my career many moons ago, when I was doing video and film, was really trying to figure out like what should I charge. And you hear and know that you should be charging for some of these things, but especially like your costs, but there were things that, like, in the very beginning, like, in full transparency, like, we weren't charging for, we just didn't even think of it. It was like, and all the pre-pro and the prep time going into it, like, we never really, early on, we didn't account for any of that time. And you start to realize, like, holy cow, man, we're leaving a ton of money on the
Oh, let me tell
table.
you.
And these are the things that you really have to look at. Like, look at the time you're spending on projects, and like you said, the things that you're using, your expenses to work, your internet, your phone, any software that you're purchasing, any classes that you're taking to get better, like, that levels up your experience, which now means that you know how to do these things. You could charge a little bit more for these things. Like, all those bits, like, go into like figuring out your price and understanding like your self value. And I know, it's that relationship with money I think people have. Like, everybody wants to make money, but nobody truly wants to dive into like figuring out things like, well, everybody feels weird about assigning a value to like their worth, and they feel like, they're kind of like, well, I'm just going to be cool and I'm just going to kind of charge whatever. But no, you shouldn't be charging whatever, because the downfall of that too is you also kind of bring down the market around you. Like, and that is not good either. Like, everybody should kind of be like very competitive with each other in their pricing. You don't
Chris,
want to be
and
undercut.
sorry to interrupt you. You said the keyword value.
Yeah.
This is the thing freelancers don't understand when they start freelancing. You are paid for the value you're bringing to the marketplace. You're not paid per hour. That's why when I meet a new freelancer, I ask, do you know what's the difference between those who are paid $10 an hour and $100 an hour? And people are thinking, well, I don't know, the years of experience. No, it's the value you bring on the table. It can be your first freelance project, but as you know, you are bringing value to the marketplace, you'll price it correctly.
Yes, so spot on, so spot on, and that's why, you know, for everybody right now watching this and listening to this, uh, please make sure you head over to jumpinpodcast.com, because I am imploring you that if you are seriously like in this, like, whatever is now called the gig economy, and the freelance side of things, you really need to look at these, and you may know what you're doing, and that's great, but it never hurts to kind of look at another perspective and just make sure, like, kind of do this audit of yourself and figure out, like, am I really charging enough? Am I really doing these things correctly to make sure I'm getting the most value, as you said, out of myself? That's what I'm bringing to the table. That's why people hire you. That's why people want to work with you, because of what you do. And for everybody that's sort of undercutting you or not paying you what you're worth, like, here it is, everybody. You don't have to work with everybody, and you can say no.
Exactly, especially when you're a freelancer.
Yeah.
Freelancers, I love to call it, they are picky workers because they pick their clients, they pick their schedule, they pick their hourly rate or project rate. So be picky because you're self-employed, first of all, and secondly, you're working for yourself. It's a lot of work of being a one-man job.
Oh yeah, you're doing everything, and it's you're not only you just executing the work, but you've got to go find the work. So there is the marketing on in the sales, the big scary word of sales, or the business development side of it. And that's another thing that you talk a lot about too in your resources, because and I just had this up on the screen. So once again, for everybody listening, Jump In Podcast. So we've been talking about jumpinpodcast.com, which is Doina's online resource, but the Jump In Podcast is essentially, if you look at the episode titles, it's literally everything that you want to know about being a better freelancer. And one of the things that I know that you talk a lot about doing it is utilizing the freelance websites, all the big ones out there, and how to really, get yourself set up for success, and also, like you just said, how to say no.
How to say no is very important, and say no to free work. I believe in setting yourself for success when you're using Upwork or Fiverr, any other freelance website. It's out there because rule number one, you need to find a long term client who will bring money on the table every single month, every single day, depending when you are paid. This is very important to have that stable income because this will allow you to play with other clients on raising your price. For example, you have a client that pays $40 an hour, but you'll take the next one that pays $50 an hour. If he says no, you can negotiate. If you are not okay with the negotiation process, you can move on. There are a lot of clients who are ready to take you on board for your skills. But at the same time, you have that client that pays you $40 an hour every single day. It's way easier to play around again with the prices when you have some stable income coming in. That's why I believe everyone should be on a freelance platform, but also do your own research on LinkedIn and any other websites to find new clients.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that you're a big advocate of the things that I talk about a lot, which is, make sure that, all your other profiles are tidied up, because people will do their due diligence. And it's also a great way for people to find you and potentially hire you. So, make sure your LinkedIn is in order. Wherever you're doing any of your posting, or you have your social accounts, like, make sure they're in order, make sure they're a good representation of you and your personal brand and what you have to offer. And it should be uniform across the board. Make it easy for people to find you and want to work with you. And if you're doing things on the side and you don't want everybody to know what you're doing, then that's fine. But like, just, like Doina was saying, make sure that you're utilizing some of the sites then that where you can find the work, like utilize them properly.
I really love what you said, because even when you're on Upwork and say, yes, but I'm working here, my clients are here, people who find you on Upwork will Google your name and they'll look for you on LinkedIn. They'll look at their section of recommendation to see how many people actually worked with you and will recommend your service. And it's way easier for them to take a decision. And it's way easier for you later on to raise your price and say, hey, she's trustworthy, she's doing the job. I think this will be a long-term relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so important. And I know there's a lot, once again, for everybody listening and watching, there's a lot that you have to do. Like everything that we're saying here isn't like, oh, it's just there's a lot, but you can make a checklist and you can organize it. And if you put a little bit of time every day to these things, it becomes a lot easier to maintain and manage. Yes, there's always the initial setup time, but once it's all set up, it's really becomes a management, and you can create a system around it. You can schedule the time in as when you're going to be working on these things and updating it, because it's going to be the key thing that's going to get you those jobs. And more importantly, the jobs you want, the projects you really want to work on, so that way you aren't just saying no all the time. You're actually saying yes, but you're saying yes to like the right kinds of clients that you want. And that's an important thing, is also identifying, like, who do you want to work with? What type of work do you want to do? Rather than just saying anybody who wants to pay me.
Yeah, I think freelancers who just leave their 9 to 5 and say, I'm going to be a freelancer starting tomorrow, they get into this situation because they need money urgently and they will work with anyone. And they are not having that clarity of spotting the red flags in freelancing. They will take any type of work, any type of client, and then they will get to a toxic client and they say, freelancing is not for me. And this makes a total difference of them getting back to a 9 to 5.
Yeah, and I love, you just said something really, really important there. And I want you to elaborate a little bit on that, is the red flags of freelancing. Like those.
There are a lot of red flags. I think freelancers should have the red flags prior to freelancing. It's way easier to spot them, and you will understand what you can take and what you cannot take as a human being. One red flag is if your client finds you on a platform such as Upwork and they say, let's work off the platform, that's a red flag straight away.
Good point. Good point.
Because all these freelance platforms, they have a payment integrated. In case if your client doesn't pay you, they are fighting for you. They are involved in the dispute with the client. They are paying you anyway, but they will continue the dispute with the client. So if the client says, let's work off of the platform, say no.
Right.
Even if those platforms take 10 or 20% of your earnings, stay on it. Another one, you should also do your due diligence of interviewing your client. It's not only your client to interview you about your skills, ask for reviews, check them online, and if you see bad reviews, actually believe that happened.
Yeah.
Do not give any benefit of a doubt, especially if you're on Upwork. I'm talking about Upwork because I'm on Upwork since 2014.
Yeah.
Check what other people said working with a client. And trust your gut. If you're not feeling comfortable of taking the project, just don't take it. Move to the next one.
Yeah. Well said.
Another big red flag is bad payment terms.
Oh, yes.
This can be like, there are some companies who say, we're going to pay you 90 days after you finish the project. Who will wait 90 days to be paid? So be careful of the bad payment terms. Give your client 30 days maximum to pay you.
Yeah,
So,
I love that point so much, because I mean, even being with even with my former company, we dealt with that all the time. And and we had agreements in place and things like that. And then the decisions need to be made at sometimes with some of those payment terms. Like, sometimes there's no way around some of the larger companies that we are working with, because that's just what it is. But you want that kind of work because, but those are little decisions you need to make. But I think on the level of Upwork and things like that on that side of things is definitely something you need to look at and be careful of those things and entering in agreements with people. And I know that they do that in Upwork where they kind of negotiate those things a bit, but yeah, those are really good red flags to watch out for. Because you got to get paid. You got to get paid.
Yes.
Once you turn work over, that's it. Like,
Your
now,
freelance kingdom is enough. You are the marketing person, you are the content manager person, you are, I don't know, podcaster. If you are using your podcast to generate leads, you don't want to be a debt collector. You really don't want to be that one to
no.
chase companies and say, hey, you have an invoice to pay. When are you going to pay it?
Yeah, and as a small business owner, there's enough things to worry about, or as an independent business owner, you have a lot of things to worry about, and yet in debt collection it's unfortunately it does come with the territory. However, you can really limit the amount of debt collecting you have to do if you really are smart and try to avoid as many of those pitfalls and red flags as much as you possibly can.
I have a tip of you avoiding the debt collection. Use an escrow service. There's escrow.com. You agree with your client how much the project is worth. They are putting the money in an escrow account, so it's pending. You can't touch the money. He can't touch the money. When you deliver, escrow will release the amount to you. And it's simple as that.
I love that. That's a great resource. I hope everybody watching and listening right now just heard that, because that is a wonderful piece of information to know that if you do need help getting paid, these services are out there, and they don't and they don't all charge an arm and a leg to get the money. Uh,
Exactly.
you got to be careful, but as Doina said, she's giving these resources because these are resources that she's used herself and has tried and tested them, and so you can expect that they will definitely be worth using. So I know we've been talking a lot. I mean, this has been great. This is such a great. I'm having so much fun talking to you.
Same here.
Feel like we could talk for hours about this. I do want to get into the Pinterest side of things, because I feel like it's so important to talk about this, because, and maybe it's just me, and I guess I'm late to the Pinterest party, or the way of thinking about Pinterest, because and I know that working with agencies in the past, that Pinterest has been part of strategy when it comes to, but a lot of it I've seen um, was more towards, like, so if I was working with a food company or a beverage company, there would be that the Pinterest component where the stills that were being taken on set, or like if they were designing recipes and things like that, they would go to there was a Pinterest part. That's kind of as much as my knowledge of Pinterest was, other than like what I was saying, my own personal use of like collecting recipes and all kinds of other stuff that people upload, like old school punk rock flyers, and I'm like, that's cool. But having now met you and learning how you've been using Pinterest, seeing how you use it and how you're teaching others how to use it, has completely opened my eyes to the power of using Pinterest to promote your business. And I think that for many people, and once again, probably shouldn't say many, because maybe it's just me, but I would say, at least my perception was, I would never thought of it as using it in that capacity from a professional standpoint, and using it to attract clients or build an audience. And you completely have, blown me away. Like, you've opened my eyes. I see the light. So talk a bit about Pinterest, please, because I do find it absolutely fascinating.
Sure. Thanks for asking. We held a class last Saturday, and everyone was like, finally, I get it. How this works with Pinterest. I was using Pinterest for 9 years. I had my blog in my native language. I put my podcast out there, and I said, I'm going to be as any other podcaster. I'm going to create those fancy audiograms, and I'm going to tell people link is in bio, and sorted. People will come. It didn't happen. I'm like, I'm not doing something right. And then I thought, if Pinterest worked for a blog, why wouldn't it work for a podcast? And it did. And then I started to teach other people how to use it for their podcast. And one thing to understand, and a lot of people have this misconceptions that Pinterest is only for travel pictures, for recipes, for cool home decor pictures. So here you go. Yeah.
Self-admitted, that's me. That's 100% me, until I met you.
A lot of people are using for personal use. However, it's way easier to use it for your business. because Pinterest works based on keywords. Using the proper keywords, the audience will find you and take action on the type of pins you're putting out there, on the type of content. But before you do anything on Pinterest, you need to have one goal. Do not have 1001 goals. Have one goal, and that's your strategy on how to succeed on Pinterest. Do you want people to sign up to your newsletter? Do you want people to go and download your freebie? This is a very good way, actually, to grow your email list. Or do you want them to go and listen to your latest podcast episode? So it is up to you. Stick to one strategy, one goal, and your Pinterest account will go very quickly, will grow exponentially. And we have a team behind. There's Kim and there's Melissa. We have some people who already tested it, and it's working great for them.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I've been really, I mean, it's watching the people that you're working with and seeing how it works is really, I mean, it's real. I mean, it's measurable. You can see it. And for anybody that doesn't think that there's no ROI or anything like that, like, you're wrong. This is like any other marketing out there, is that it is extremely measurable and you can see the results. And that's the other thing that I really have, once again, did not know about any of this stuff. I never really took Pinterest as serious, honestly. I mean, I never took it as serious at all until really talking to you about it and seeing firsthand like what it can do for, right, your business or your podcast or whatever you're involved in, to be able, if you're looking for an audience and you're looking for clients, it always starts with what you said. I love is one thing: be focused. Who's the target for what you're putting out there, the content you're creating? Is it to grow your podcast audience? Is it to have them download a lead mag? Like, who's the target audience, right?
That's so true, Chris. And as a business owner, as a freelancer, you have to understand that you are trading your time for something. On social media, you're trading your time for exposure. On your email list, you're trading your time for engagement, people to engage back with you if you're sharing your latest podcast episode for them to go and listen. So with Pinterest, you also have to think you're sharing your time for what? So you need to have a clear strategy. And so you understand, Pinterest is not social media, it's a visual search engine. So all the content is also indexed in Google. So you are doing half of the work when you're doing on social media, because your content will be everywhere by using the right keywords.
Yeah, and once again, you said something really key just now, and I don't want to blow by it, is that it's a visual search index, right? So that's really key to understand, everybody. So especially to everybody out there who's creating, and if you have a visual component or you don't have a visual component, you may want to think about creating a visual component to what it is you're creating, such as podcasts, because we know audio doesn't get indexed right now by the search engines, but the images do. And this is why Pinterest works so good, because of what you said. It's a image search index search engine, and when you have things attached to your business that have images related to it, it's going to show up. So even, for instance, and I'll use myself as an example, because this is something I'm in the infancy stage of starting this, but like, you would say, all right, with the coaching stuff and the services I provide, like, and I do this podcast, I do this is part of what I do. But you would say, well, what's the aspect of, but I'm creating tons of content all the time for LinkedIn, for Instagram, for Facebook. I am doing stuff on TikTok, I am doing other mediums, things like that. And all those things have a visual component to them. And why wouldn't I be putting them on Pinterest? Like, why wouldn't I be expanding my searchability to my target audience?
Yes, Chris, and here's a secret. On Pinterest, you're not only growing your website, you can grow your Instagram account, you can grow your TikTok account. You just copy the content you already have and you just put it on Pinterest. You don't need to do the hard work to think, hey, what should I post today, tomorrow? You have so much content behind you. If you're using Canva, you just go and resize it for Pinterest. Is it 1000 by 1500 pixel? So you have the 2:3 ratio and you are done. So as a business owner, probably if you're into content management, you
Mhm.
have a lot of information to put out there. And you have some content until you think, hey, I don't know what else to add on Pinterest, but I'm going to think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and this goes for all the marketers out there who are listening to this too. If you are, handling your company's marketing and you're trying to find new strategies of reaching your audience, your customers, like if you're not using Pinterest, you should absolutely be using. I mean, this goes for pretty much that. I mean, this isn't just exclusive to like podcasters and creators here. I know we've been talking a little bit about that, but this is for any business that you're in should be taking advantage of using Pinterest and that visual component.
Definitely. And you have to do your due diligence and research on keywords. You just don't throw content out there. Just go in this search bar where you see the magnifying glass and search what you want to find. And you'll understand your user behavior and you'll understand what type of content you will put out there and what kind of keywords you'll be using.
There it is.
Easy peasy.
Doesn't get any simpler than that. I mean, honestly, it sounds like, and for anybody that's like, "Oh my gosh," it's telling you this is not a lot of time to do, especially if you already have the content created. You're not really you're not recreating anything. Maybe just the resizing of it, but that's really it at the end of the day. And as Doina said, it's the keywords. Like if you're going to do anything in marketing, right? You want to be strategic. Who's the target audience? What are they searching for? And just make sure that that's where it is, so that way you can be a little bit more focused on the content you're putting out there, so that way you can increase your chances of whatever that is, going and downloading something or signing up for something or buying something or listening or watching, whatever that is. Like just make sure you have your call to action and all that all straightened out, what you want.
Yeah, and what I love about Pinterest, everything is measurable.
Hmm.
After 3, 4 weeks being on Pinterest, you have a lot of data to work with. You'll find it in analytics and you will understand your impressions. If your impressions are low, this means you're not using the right keywords and you have to go back and check your keywords. If the engagement is low, you're not using the proper call to action. So you'll have to go and check your call to action, what you had in every single pin. So we have all that data, which can be measured, and you can go and take action. And you can also see how many people are going to your website because you're going to integrate Google Analytics and Pinterest, and you will see all the information under referral, traffic referral, because this is what Pinterest does, free traffic to your website or anywhere else you want to be referred to. It can be Instagram, it can be TikTok, it can be your YouTube account, you name it. So once you do that, you are ready to go and use analytics to measure your data.
Yeah, and I love that. So that really takes care of the, well, how do I measure it and how do I, analyze it and everything like that so I can get real metrics. Well, there it is. Doina just outlined it. And so that is all there and that's available. For those that are not watching, and you may be listening to the audio version of this, I am sharing right now one of Doina's programs here. She's a Pinterest for Podcasters class, which I think this is really cool, and this you can sign up for by going to her website jumpinpodcast.com. Once again, all the links will be in the show notes for those of you listening to this, so that way you can have quick and easy access to all these things that we've been discussing. But Doina, real quick, just tell everybody a little bit about your Pinterest for Podcasters workshop here.
Sure. First of all, we're having the Clubhouse room every single Monday, 9 a.m. Central Time, where we have accountability hour. You have homework. So if you love homework, you'll be there. If you do not love homework, you'll still be there because I'm going to check on you.
She will. I know she will. I know she will definitely do that.
We are having a group coach. We had one this Saturday. We are setting up the next one. And we are studying everything from scratch, how you are going to create your account, where to find keywords, what keywords to use, what's the size for an ad pin, for an idea pin, and what's a pin and what's an idea pin. We are going from all of this, from the proper call to action and everything you have to know how to succeed on Pinterest, measure your data, how to connect your website, your social media, and everything else.
Yeah, and this is a really robust class. I actually want to make sure that I catch the next one. I wasn't able to catch this one this time around, but and I've been in some of the clubhouse rooms, and they are really good. But I want to take the class because there's a lot that I know I need to still learn, and I know that you're definitely the one I want to learn it from. So because you're
I'll
the
have a list of homework for you.
oh, that's fine. Give it to me because I need to do it. I'll pile on to the rest of the homework. I am good. I get it done. I do get it done.
Great.
Especially when it can turn into growing my business. I'm all for it. So I'm also I'm good at giving homework and I'm good at receiving homework. So
That's great.
yeah, absolutely. So this is, man, this has been so much fun. This has been so great. I am so happy that once again that we had a chance to do this and have this conversation. There's so much more I know that we could be talking about, and especially in the world of freelance and all the different things that are going on there. And I'm really happy that we got to talk a lot about the Pinterest as well, because that is something I feel like that you have definitely opened my eyes to, as I've said many times, to the power of it. And one of the interesting stats that you did have on that class on the page for your website is that there's 485 million monthly users to Pinterest. So I just think about that for a second, everybody. Like 485 million
Monthly active users. Can you
yeah.
imagine every single month?
And so if you're not using this platform, those are people you're just not seeing. They're not seeing your stuff. You're not connecting with them.
And a lot of people are afraid saying, but there is content only for women there. No, it's not. It's content for everyone. I know like 7 in 10 Pinterest users are female. However, there are a lot of men from 485 million people. A lot of men there. So go on Pinterest, sign up for the business account, and start promoting your business.
Yes, absolutely. That's 100% what I'm doing, and yeah, and I'm one of those male users that's been on Pinterest for a while, but just using it for all my gigantic recipe collection that I have on there. But you definitely on the business side, it's time to really start getting serious about using on that side. So no, I'm really happy you're on. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
I have a feeling we'll be doing a part 2 at some point very soon, I'm sure, because I know a lot of people are going to probably have way more questions and would love to have you come back. In the meantime, though, you don't have to wait for Doina to come back. You can connect with her pretty much anywhere online. You can go over to jumpinpodcast.com. You can also listen to Jump In Podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. And Doina, you're on Instagram, you're on Pinterest, you're on
I'm everywhere.
you're on LinkedIn, and all her connections and all her links are available in the show notes. And if you're watching this right now, all her contact and all the different places where you can download the resources and have access to the podcast and sign up for her classes and access her clubhouse rooms. It's all in there. It's all in the captions right now, so you can click that and get access immediately. And it once again will be in all of the show notes. So for anybody else out there looking to connect with me, I'm very easy to connect with. You can actually hit me up everywhere in social. All the show links are there. Also, you can hit me up and text directly. You can text Let's Rock to 88500 right now. That's Let's Rock at 88500. And you will get all my contact information and also connect to all the different links I have. So that's Let's Rock at 88500. I also want to thank once again my sponsor, my awesome sponsor, 7 days of simple podcast marketing over at kerryzarb.com/simple. That's kerryzarb.com/simple. If you're a podcaster, and as Doina was talking about, Pinterest is definitely one of the places you need to be. But Kerry has designed this awesome 7 days of simple podcast marketing. Go there now, sign up for it. It's fantastic. kerryzarb.com/simple. You can get that in the show notes. And of course, if you're looking to support this show, because we got some bills to pay around here, so a few bucks here and there really goes a long way. You can go over to buymeacoffee.com/cvaglio. Once again, all these links are in the show notes. And just checking in on the comments before we split. Oh, Melissa Stetcher, check it in. Late to the game. Didn't make it.
Melissa.
Looking forward to the next class, Doina. And here she is sharing your links out. Jumpinpodcast.com.
Oh, she's so sweet.
She's the best. So I want to thank everybody once again for watching and for checking us out. Please make sure you connect with Doina and take her classes, listen to the podcast, reach out to her, go to her clubhouse rooms, check it all out, because I'm telling you, she will definitely help you level up your business, whether you're a podcaster, whether you're a freelancer of any shape, size, whatever it is you're doing. The advice and the resources she has provided are absolutely invaluable, and they are trusted. So, and I don't say that lightly. I'm saying that from experience. Please make sure you go and check out all the things that she has laid out for you. So, Doina, thanks again for coming on.
Thanks for having me. It was so much fun. And I know we have a lot more to talk about freelancing, where to start, what to do, but do not hesitate to contact with me. If you have any other questions, I'm available anywhere.
There you go. Sorry, I had to take a sip of something. I was
Don't
like,
worry.
voice.
That's your sponsor.
It's yeah, it's Kirkland sparkling water seltzer there. The official seltzer drink of the Rocket Live podcast. All right. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. And thank you so much to everybody who's going to watch and listen to this replay. You're all amazing. Please make sure you like, share, subscribe, follow, do all the things. Check us out on all the podcasting platforms, of course, on YouTube as well, and anywhere else you're watching us. Appreciate each and every one of you. And remember, always be yourself and stay authentic and just rock it. Come on, just rock it out. There you go. All right. See you guys soon. Take care.
Bye.